Hey everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we are going to be creating art just using everyday household items. I have post-it notes. For whatever reason, I have been, whenever I use butter, this particular brand, I think it's like a Canadian brand of butter, I'm not sure, but the paper just kind of falls off and it gives this like tin-foily paper, and I just thought, oh, I just love this. I love the gold color, but I also love the silver, and I think I could use it in my sketchbook. I also took the top off some egg cartons, like I've ripped up egg carton and boxes and makeup applicators. And I thought, you know what, let's take everyday items and see what we can create in our art journal. So I'm going to flip the camera over and let's just play around and see what can be created without having to go out and buy something to create. For this particular activity of using household items, as I mentioned, I have the butter, that tinfoil-y paper that I really like, some makeup sponges, and the other thing that I love to create art with and I have videos on is food colorings. I have this food coloring that I got, and you really only need a few colors because then you can mix all your own colors, which I have done here, and I'm going to give you a little demo on how that works. I even have this, but I put my water in this to rinse out my brush. Just using everyday household items, things that you would naturally, most likely have at home, including colored pencils and a few Sharpie markers. But I'm going to just show you what sketchbook I'm using and we're going to jump in. I'm using a Talon's Art Creative Sketchbook. This is one of the smallest ones. It's like a 5x5. I really like to play around with my art supplies in here and see what I can create. There's a lot of exploration and playing around in this teeny tiny sketchbook. You can even take it anywhere you want, and it holds up well to different art supplies. We are going to play with the, I keep calling it watercolor, but it's food coloring, but it does behave similarly to watercolor. You don't need a whole bunch of different colors for this. I already mixed my food coloring up. I've got red, orange. Again, your sketchbook's a place to play, so you just mix and play, but there's also the color wheel. You can get a color wheel that will show you how to mix different colors to create different shades, but I never really use it. Although I will say this food coloring did not make a very good purple at all. I don't know why the red and blue didn't make a good purple, but it really didn't. Probably have to play with that a little bit. But this is just, you can get any colors you want. I got the box, it only had 3 colors in it. I do have more food coloring somewhere, but I cleaned up my art room and I cannot find it. All right, we are going to begin and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create like a simple abstracted landscape. You can mix your greens with all sorts of different colors to create different greens. So I'm just taking the regular green from the food coloring and I'm just placing it on the paper. Hopefully you can see that okay. All right. And what I like to do is start mixing my greens up with different colors. So I might take a little blue and add it there. And then I'm creating different, like a darker green, like a turquoisey color that I could layer on, and maybe a little bit of yellow. You start creating layers and it's abstracted. So for me, I'm just doing some grass and creating a landscape. It's funny how quickly you can mix these colors together. Don't be afraid to just play around and see what happens. I like adding like this orangish brown to make it look like an interesting landscape. This is not watercolor paper in this sketchbook, but I bet if you used watercolor paper, you'd get different effects. I really like the way this looks. I'm trying not to add too much water because the food coloring is quite liquidy. there is my landscape. Now you can let this dry and then add some colored pencil to it, add different details, which I'm going to do after, but that is the first example of using just plain household items to create art. I forgot to use the makeup sponge. So you can just grab whatever liquids you have and it creates a nice soft effect. And you could play. You don't necessarily need fancy paint, fancy watercolor. You can really use what you have at home. I think I'm gonna try the yellow. This is another landscape, but just a different way of doing it. Once you add your colored pencils on top of this, I bet it would look great. And then I'm gonna just use the top of this. You can't be afraid of making mistakes. And that's why we're trying the household items, because you're kind of forced to do something different than you would normally do. And the joy too is that this is not expensive. These are not expensive art supplies at all. So now I have 2 pages that I can come back to and finish up. I'm going to let these sort of dry and then come back to them. While this dries, I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is, colored pencils and just general markers and doing some mark making. But then getting paper, any household paper, I like to use like the sticky Post-it note paper, and you can rip it up in different shapes and glue it down. You can get different colors too. As you can see, I'm building on what I started off with. So I practiced with just the food coloring, which is still drying. And then I did a little mark making with some highlighters and color pencils. And on top of that, I added these sticky notes. So I just ripped them up and added them on. But you're sort of layering on the different things from the house. And I used glue. I used glue to put this on, and then I added the food coloring, but I also used a little glue to mix it up. This is your sketchbook, so you really want to let loose and play. I've got all these little bits of paper that I've taken from my house, when I'm cooking. Like I said, I've got the tin foil, which I don't know if I'm going to be using on this, but I also just have paper from, flour, and I could add it on there for texture, and I could add this on it as well. I've got the egg cartons, but I'm thinking of saving that to make a paste with, like mixing it up with some glue and making a paste. But let's just keep playing and see what evolves. Third activity involves this beautiful tinfoil type paper from the butter. And what I'm going to do is just draw a girl, and then we're going to embellish it with the tinfoil from the butter and see how that works with regards to adding texture and jewelry with just household items. I'm using a pencil today because, again, I'm trying to stick with something that we would, have in our house. And again, you can add water to your drawing, your sketchbook drawing with pencil and have it a painterly effect. If you're new to my channel, I do have a book on how to draw faces. If that's something you're interested in learning, I'll leave a link in the comments. Okay, here is my lady, and I think I will add again some food coloring and maybe a little bit of this, and then add some tin foil to finish it off. These are the final art pieces that I did. I love how this tinfoil worked out. It's nice and shiny. And you know, I see a lot of people buying this gold leaf stuff at the store. And I guess just when this paper came off the back of it, I was like, oh, it looks kind of like that gold leaf. It's kind of shiny and tinfoily. And all I had to do is put glue on it and then tap it down, and it stuck quite well. And I just like the way it looks on this paper as well. I took some of the red part of that packaging and put it on her cheeks. I love the way the food coloring works so well. It's so bright on here. These are the finished, the other finished paintings that I did. I added some colored pencil on here. I used Faber-Castell colored pencils lately. I add some Sharpie markers on here, and I love the way this turned out. I also added a few tempera paint sticks just to add a little shine to it, but I love the way that turned out, all with food coloring. Like the whole thing started with food coloring, and then after you layer on some mark making, and it looks really, oh, I love the way it looks. Food coloring is very bright. Oh, these pages stuck together. Oops. This is, I should have put some wax paper or something behind it, but this turned out really well too. And that was with the makeup brush and the food coloring. And I added a little bit of marker and colored pencil as well to that. So unfortunately the paper stuck together, but these two really turned out well. And I am definitely saving all the packaging from products that I use to use in my artwork, especially, this was a big win for me. I am definitely going to be using it in my art journal. I love the way her face turned out. If you have any questions at all about any of the art supplies I used or my process, just let me know. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy creating.